Recently, Mahosi wrote a letter to my private secretary saying that they are going to withdraw 2 of my security staff. And then they tried to give some flimsy excuses as to why they are having to do that. But the staff members they've chosen are those who have been working closely with me for many years. So it was deliberate that they chose those 2. Just like Maloba. Remember that trip I went to India to see the Dalai Lama? And then they transferred those who went with me. Again, there were those who I've been working with for many years. So it was just a deliberate attempt to try and degrade the people, the staff who I work with, both in terms of numbers and in terms of those that I work closely with on a day-to-day basis. So the latest one, Kihore, is my executive secretary, who I've been working with for 22 years. And when you have worked with, and she wrote, knowing her contract was ending at the end of this month, she wrote a couple of months ago asking for a renewal, and the answer came, yeah, they're not going to renew the thing. So you wonder, there are no reasons given, there's no on all these staff things, there's never any consultation with me. I've been in government, I know how things work. There has to be consultation. It's just courtesy, it's decency. But because we know the climate we are living in today, this is how they want to conduct their relations. So she has been told she cannot renew. So then the question will be, who replaces her? Do they give me an opportunity to recommend? They haven't said that. They didn't even. And for me, for them to bring someone here who I don't know, I've never worked with, who handles my personal issues, who's likely to be someone who's going to inform them about what goes on in this office, that is the intention. Because they have tried twice to target people near me, to pay them, to give them information about issues around me. You remember, I don't know if you saw on social media one time, there was one of the chaps in my football team who was actually kidnapped by them. And how I won. It came out on social media. One of the football players in my team was kidnapped at night for a couple of days. And this person said he knows that it was DIS. Because Bamutsere, they took him into a place where they could see it was an official office where they kept him. Now, who would normally, if you want to ask questions about me, you come in, you ask for an interview. Who else out there would want to know about my movements, my visitors, and all those kind of things? Obviously, Kibone. So, and they offered him, or if you work for us. And the only people who do that, we know who they are. And he refused to do that. There's another member of the BPF who was asked to give information on BPF and information on me. So these people have set themselves up to trying to get information about me, and therefore whoever comes here will obviously be a plant on their side. So that's all about that person. Yeah.
In relation to the staff member, since you've been president before, you've had two retired former presidents. What was the norm in relation to the?
I wasn't involved.
Yes, sir.
I was never involved. Like even now, when I travel, I believe because I'm entitled to 4 trips a year. So the last trip when I went to Kenya, the vice president, he was acting president at the time, he calls this office, not me, to say, Horinya, the trip is approved. I said, that's irrelevant. I don't need approval to travel. The Constitution guarantees me 4 international trips a year. John Obone, they think they have the right to say yes or no on my trips, but they don't. And had he tried to say not approved, it would have ended up in court, like my other cases are going to court.
Like you're saying, that this is all new to you in terms of...
It's new because when Rema Sire and Remo Hai traveled, it never crossed my desk. I never knew where they were going from one day to the next. Who their staff were, how many staff they had, it didn't concern me. I just knew they need to be facilitated. And I once told the PSP, when I once met, I don't know which former president it was, who was experiencing some difficulties. And I said, you need to touch base with them on a regular basis to make sure that we facilitate. But otherwise, they want to treat me as if I'm a public officer.
One of the things said by the former PSP Remurupisi sometime last year, he said you had been given more staff than was legally provided. And I just want to establish right now where you are and in terms of...
That was true, yes, at the
sir.
House.
Oh.
And I requested it.
Yes, sir.
And they approved it. Yes. So, like I said then to media, Hokopa Hasimolao. So you can ask, they can say no. So that time it wasn't that I hijacked these staff and took them with me. No. I'd requested it and they had approved it. Yeah.
In terms of those numbers, where are we now? Have you been now...
The numbers, those ones haven't been touched for now.
They
tried to remove one of them last year. They made an attempt to remove one. I don't know where it ended, but it ended up not being moved. Now that you're mentioning it and you're probably going to write about it, then I can expect that will be reminding them, and then they'll go and take that person. Yeah.
So, in terms of the staff members that you have lost, that you have worked with for a long time, how many so far have been taken away?
5.
5 so far?
Yeah.
And replaced with another 5?
No. No replacements.
No replacements?
No replacements. So that's why I say that it's strange that they will come up with excuses as to why they're not going to replace them. They just keep quiet. They just say these are moving, and then there haven't been any replacements. They took a couple of vehicles. They're not replacing some of them. So, Gerori, this is what we, and like I say, there's never any consultation. No one has the decency to come and say, yeah.
In relation to to Madam Secretary, have you expressed your views as far as keeping?
No, I haven't.
No,
I haven't, because I know who I'm dealing with, and I know it'll be a waste of time. Yeah, because what should have happened was that they should have come to me to say, "Hore, we have this application for renewal. We are considering it. So, are you happy with her services? For us to consider yes or no." But in this case, they just didn't bother. So the fact they don't consult shows me very clearly that it would be a waste of time to try and go and negotiate or speak to them. Yeah.
In terms of replacement, should they, like they said that they won't renew the contract, should they stick to that? Would you be willing to accept whoever they...
I would hope the normal thing is that they would come and tell me who they want to replace her with, or ask me for to make recommendations to them, because they are the appointing authority. They appoint. So it's the person who works here as a public officer. So I cannot demand one person or the other. But if you're working well together, if it's a proper government doing the things that they should do properly, they would come and consult and say, okay, do you have any ideas? But so far, they haven't.
Okay, I think we've exhausted that one.
Yeah.
There's another issue, I understand, a new issue regarding the Polka Festival, that the government has withdrawn sponsorship going forward.
Yeah, well, I went down to the Polka Festival I was there on Saturday, and I've been attending the Polka Festivals when they've been held. And when I was there on this occasion, I was told by the local leadership there, this Polka Festival, that government will sponsor or partner with you. No reasons given. But then later on I was told from a very reliable source, I get a little on a little to quote the reliable sources, very reliable, the ministry, and I believe it came out in social media, and that's when I followed it up after I'd heard it. And they said, yeah, what's in social media is true. The ministry had said that I should not be invited to this Polka Festival, to the Polka Festival. And you should also know, if he attends, meaning me, the president will not attend. Mehape, we will end your sponsorship. We'll end this one. You'll be on your own. So that I heard later. So indeed, what is the proof? Well, when the festival was held in the past, I would attend. The ministers would be there. Senior officials from the Ministry of Youth would be there. This time, nothing. No president, no minister, and so on. And yet when we set this thing up, and I should just explain that, when I started all these cultural developments, it was to, like I've said before, to promote our culture in Botswana. And if you want to promote something, government has to give a helping hand. So that's why we introduced the constituency tournaments, which was sports and culture. That's why I introduced the President's Day competitions, in order to further unearth the talent that we have and encourage it. And then encouraged all these different groupings in the country from different areas to come up and so these people started their Polka Festival, and we were giving them a helping hand. So you would think that now what government should do is to continue and improve upon what has happened before. Whereas now what we just see is withdrawing. And when I sat there and I looked around, because I didn't ask at the time the extent of the sponsorship, but you could just see the stands that were there, the tents, the lighting equipment, the programs, that on their own, they're not going to be able to achieve that, which will then mean the thing will, and even groups had been coming from different areas. I assume transport had been provided, accommodation had been provided for those traveling troops. So it's difficult. We had that race for rhinos, you remember that event. That no longer takes place anymore. And these were kind of things that put the country on the map. So yeah,
So in relation to the Polka Festival, from what you've been told, there has been an official communication in relation to the cancellation of the sponsorship.
To them, yeah, because they all told me, the leadership there, they told me And even the guest speaker mentioned it, that no, he hopes that they would reconsider in his speech that this would not happen. Yeah.
And I understand there's a similar
So really
issue.
it's the people who suffer. I mean, they may be trying to get at me, but why make the people down there suffer because of that?
We understand there's a similar issue with Kuihabaki.
Yeah.
Please take us through that.
Kuihaba, you know, one of the big challenges there was that if you look at the concept, when you have one cavern there, which is the one referred to as Kuihaba, and people have been going there and visiting over the years. And to cut a long story short, we started exploration. And we found other caverns, even bigger than Kuihaba. And to explore those caverns, because they're in a very remote part of the country, took a lot of effort and resources to do that. And eventually we got a team of specialists. We used to rely on experts from South Africa, cavers, to come in and do the exploration. But eventually we built up a team, because I said we can't keep relying on them. We must build our own team. And those people did incredible work. They were even we gave them awards for what they had done. The conditions that they were working underground were very dangerous, and they kept at it in very difficult circumstances, and they discovered more caverns. And so the whole thing was to make that a prime and significant tourist destination, to continue with our tourism development in the country. So it wouldn't just be about wildlife. If we're sitting on caverns, people would want to come and see them. A campsite was built in anticipation of tourists coming in.
By the government?
Yes, BTO.
BTO.
And they were going to put in another airstrip, and then maybe possibly a lodge site at the place as well, because there were two main sites, Go Kuihaba and then Go Kuanaka. And so the anticipation was that this was going to continue, and that I had offered my services to continue to drive that initiative. But it's now stopped. And I remember I got calls from the people in that area, the communities, to say, what's happening? And I was told that no, it's no longer on the radar. So there's no exploration going on. So all that money and resources that had been used over many years, because like I said, it was a very difficult area to get to, and even the exploration was difficult. You can say has come to nothing, because it's just been abandoned. The community has been abandoned, the project has been abandoned, tourism has been abandoned in that area. And I can only assume, like with the Polka, is because it was a project that I had been driving.
You've made reference to several, and I know we haven't spoken about others, of projects that are believed to be your babies. And it seems like what do you make of all this? Do you see this as an attempt to maybe erase your legacy, or?
Yeah, definitely, no doubt. That one is for sure. That is for sure. I mean, even the charity work, as you know, that I've been trying to do, going around the country and responding to requests from Botswana, like I was in those two Mwagesi villages, Ka Friday, Ko Kutuku and Koko. I've been invited there. They said they've been seeing me. They've also got people there that need assistance and everything. So I was in those two villages on Friday before I went on to Tsabong and McCarthy's Rust. And they try their best to put obstacles to prevent me with those outreach programs. You know, like denying aircraft, which is something that's going to court, telling local officials they shouldn't facilitate. They used to say, tell the chiefs, deny him use of the khota, which never worked, because you would find somewhere else to go. Although on that occasion I did. So it's just a constant thing where you can see they are trying to frustrate and put up roadblocks to prevent.
To take you back to the race for rhinos, and it happens at a very interesting time when there have been reports of poaching.
Yeah.
Just how much of a benefit was it for the country, the race of the race for rhinos?
It actually focused attention on Botswana's attempt to grow its rhino population, because don't forget, that time when we started the Khama Rhino Sanctuary, we brought in what were possibly the last remaining. We thought we had about 9 rhinos left in the whole country then. So the idea was that as these things were being poached, and we discovered that had been so much poaching going on, we managed to find the last 5 or 6 and brought them in there to protect them, secure them, then hopefully to allow them to breed up. And then we got donations from South Africa, and I think there were a couple from Zimbabwe that allowed the population to grow. And from there, the idea was then to relocate them back into the wild in order to grow our wildlife product, the tourism product for this country. Because when people went around, they could see pretty much every other species, but not rhino. And in neighboring states, they were offering all of these species for tourists to come and see. So when I came into office, we were then able to demonstrate that Botswana was a safe haven. The work I did and the monitoring I did on poaching ensured that we kept poaching down to a bare minimum. And therefore Botswana became recognized as a safe haven for wildlife and for rhinos. And we were donated many rhinos that came into the country. We brought them in, we set them up, and it cost a lot of money to move those animals. I mean, those are not small animals. It cost a lot of money and resources. And to see them now just being slaughtered on a regular basis, and then they try to come in with a policy, they say dehorning. Dehorning, I mean, when you're a tourist, do you want to see an elephant without ivory? Do you want to see a lion without claws? Do you want to see a rhino without the horn? And does it make sense? Because that horn anyway grows back after 18 months. And the value of a horn is not just when it's fully grown. Even if it's this big, it is very valuable.
I have to ask this. There have been accusations, veiled accusations, flying around, finger pointing and stuff, and in relation to who's to blame for the rhino poaching and elephant poaching and everything else. Well, what's your take?
So I know the insinuation is that it's me, because the famous words were, why now? Why is it happening now? I get it. So I would say to you, do you think that after all the years I've been involved in conservation, it would be like someone turning against their parents? Conservation has been, and I'm even hosting next week a workshop for a number of countries on anti-poaching and human-wildlife conflict, to see how we can tackle those and share experiences with other countries. So let me ask you a question. If the finger's being pointed at me, who took away the weapons from the anti-poaching unit?
I was about to go there to ask if you...
Who took away the weapons that allowed a lot of this poaching to take place? Was that me? Was that my decision? Who armed them? I armed them. And they were even armed before my time. Those people were armed. Which president ordered they be disarmed? And then that's when the poaching started. So that's the reason why now. Because they've taken their eye off the ball. The commitment is not there. Which has allowed this onslaught to come in. Who lifted the ban on hunting? of elephants. Why now? So, it's a problem.
In terms of the rhino poaching.
And then the last question is that if it was me sitting here, how do I organize Zambians, Namibians, or those who have been caught, arrested, some shot from here to come in and poach? You would have been seeing me in those countries organizing it. My phones, which are bugged, they would have heard me talking to people there and saying, Hore, hey, organize yourselves.
Are you saying they give you too much credit?
Huh?
Are you saying they give you too much credit for you to believe?
How can I, a single person, defeat their whole military and DIS and everybody else and run circles around them? What would it mean? One person against the whole of them and give honohoba to blindside them.
Just for the record, the rise in poaching cases, you attribute to the disarmament.
Yeah, that's when it started, because, if you look back to that time, before that time, it was still pretty much under control. Once it was announced, and they announced it, that they are disarming the anti-poaching unit. Okay, a lot of the anti-poaching is done by the BDF. But the poachers there don't know that. They just heard the anti-poaching unit is being disarmed. So they just thought, we go in. We can now go in. And that's when we saw. And then as they started coming in time over time, they obviously realized the shortcomings of those who are doing anti-poaching even now. And they've been able to run circles around them.
In terms of elephants and the opening up of fighting, what do you think is the solution? What is the solution to the human elephant?
That's why I'm holding this workshop next week.
Yes.
Because we've had elephant-wildlife conflict for as long as there have been elephants in Botswana. Before I was born, before you were born, before my parents were born, everybody. If you have one elephant in Botswana, just one, there's going to be a conflict, because that elephant is going to do. So the whole idea of this thing is and that time, the height of it, and when you look at some of the incidents, you'll find some of the elephants have been wounded. Another person I know who lost his life, he'd been walking back from a drinking session at night and came across these elephants. So you have those kind of situations when that it was, you could say, irresponsibility. But you may have some genuine times when people have lost their lives because an elephant has strayed into a human area. So these are things where we have to sit down as people, because we are the ones with the brains apparently. We should be able to sit down and work out how we can do to mitigate that without having to slaughter these animals and kill them, because there are not many left on this continent. There may be a lot in Botswana, but a lot of Botswana's elephants also come from neighboring states. So they're not ours alone. They belong to the continent. So we should be able to repopulate those countries whose populations have gone down. And there is a way of doing that. So as I say, when we look at the products, the benefit we get, because when you ask tourists, as I have done, for you, what is the most iconic species you come to see? Bari, the elephant. And that's why now, in some areas, to a certain extent, there's been a boycott of people coming to Botswana to come and look at our animals, because they are protesting against the ban.
I realize we are running out of time. I'll just have two more questions if you permit it. One last one is still on the tourism. In terms of your interest in tourism, how much of it is it business related? How much of it is it predominantly about your passion?
Yeah,
in tourism?
definitely. Definitely.
Because what people have always talked about, maybe you're protecting your business interest, or
I don't know. Would it mean that anything you're interested in, even if you drive a vehicle, does it mean then that you have a business interest in the transport sector or the vehicle sector? Some of these things we do because initially it would have been generated by interest and shareholding, 5. That's all. So that doesn't translate into owning or anything huge and everything like that. And you may get paid dividends, once a year. Like if you have a shareholding, these shares go Barclays as well, from many years. So you get paid dividends once a year because of that. So that's what it is. But even without the shareholding or the interest in the tourism thing, I have recognized that tourism in Botswana is wildlife based. And when I was in office, it was to grow tourism for the benefit of the country. That's why it became the second biggest revenue earner, from which we would then benefit. And it also contributes tremendously to employment creation, the tourism sector, as it does in many other countries.
The last question, sir. We've spoken about all these issues, all this lack of consultations and everything. And we're talking about particularly yourself and President Mathis. And to a lot of people, the question is, why can't these two men talk about these things? You've worked together before.
Yeah, definitely.
When was the last time you spoke?
The last time we spoke?
Yes, sir.
Well, I know definitely we haven't spoken this year. Okay, we're in March. I can't remember. It could have been, and I don't know if we spoke, but I know we met. You remember the President's Day, July, last year, when we were on the stage and we were there for a photograph. Remember that one? Yeah, that photograph. That, I think, was the last time we met. I don't think we spoke because of the event, but no, I can't remember when we last spoke.
You can remember when you last spoke?
Yeah. It's been ages.
It's been ages.
Yeah.
In terms of, do you see a solution? Are you open to suggestions in terms of coming up with a solution to all this?
There's a group of 4 elders who have been engaging us. I meet them, they come to see me, I tell them the issues. They go and see him, and then I don't get any feedback. So I meet them, I engage them, I tell them what I think is possible and what is possible, and then it ends there.
Would it ever be possible to sit across each other
and... in life anything is possible.
You are open to it?
Of course. That would be very unreasonable if I wasn't.
But that offer has not come yet in terms of the meeting?
No. There have been those who have attempted to, who have come to see me, and I said, I don't have a problem with that, but that's where it ends.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Good.